is the Kim Rebel Show.
Today, I'm talking with the one and only Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi.
This is the most important lesson I got in business in my life. Now you can learn from the very best people in the world directly. I know lots of very smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag in business or practically, right?
And when that shifted for me, it was easier for me to accomplish my goals and dreams.
In times like these, you're either one step ahead or you're definitely two steps behind.
The real secret is to understand that this is the time to take advantage. But if you're gonna have a life that's fulfilling, then you have to find something you care about more than yourself.
Okay, y'all, we are in the Summer of Success series, and these episodes are designed to help you discover new successes in your life. This series is packed with advice, fun stories, actionable steps that you can take right now to help you change your life for the better, for more success. And today's episode is huge. Zach, would you say it's like...
I'm so excited about this episode. I could not be more excited about this episode.
We have Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi on the podcast today. Can you believe this?
Huge. Just huge.
Okay. These guys are super uber successful, not only in business, but in, helping us become the best selves that we can be. Tony Robbins, Lord, y'all have seen him everywhere. He's the #1 life business and strategist. He's a peak performance coach and expert. He's a #1 time best-selling author, global entrepreneur and philanthropist, and my new best friend. And Dean also is an entrepreneur. He has played a major role in 14 successful companies. He's an investor, a best-selling author, a co-founder of mastermind.com. And I wish I had had him in my life when I started my business 7 years ago. Tony and Dean have teamed up, y'all, to host a free virtual live event from June 13th through the 15th called The Game Has Changed. I've already signed up. So I'm doing this so that y'all go ahead and get signed up so we could do this together. I can't wait to ask them all about what it means the game has changed. Welcome to the show.
Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi.
Thanks for having us on.
Great energy. Thanks, Kim.
We sing your names in so that you can have a ringtone when you leave us. You want to play it one more time, Zach, so they can hear it?
Time. Here you go, guys.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi.
Yeah.
Tony, I'm just going to start leaving you that message at night, Tony. That's the only thing I'll
That's awesome.
Okay, so I'm so excited to have you on. I have been cyber stalking and following you both for a decade, I know, because I think when I think of the founder of entrepreneurialism, excellence, game changer, goal achiever, I think of you, Tony. And Dean, you're right there with him. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Tony Robbins, I used to get your cassette tapes, dude. I mean, the cassette tapes. And then I'm going to tell a story.
No, not that old. We don't remember cassette tapes, do we?
Oh my gosh, Tony. I was 12. But anyway, it was a cassette tape. And I'm just going to full disclosure, I broke the law. I dubbed them and gave them out to all my friends. So sue me, Tony.
Sue me. Hearing from Tony's lawyers.
Right. No, okay, guys, you've got to tell me really quick. Can y'all just inspire us a little bit? Because my audience already loves you guys. And I just want to get a takeaway before we get into the virtual live event, which I've already signed up for. So y'all been friends forever, business partners, friends, all of that, right?
Yes.
How long?
12 years.
Dang, I love it.
Yeah.
Best friend's great.
12 years ago, somebody introduced us and we were going to meet for 2 minutes and it ran longer. And a week later, I was at Tony's house and I think we spent 10 hours together. It was your birthday. Yeah. We celebrated your birthday about 12 years ago. And we've been blessed to be friends ever since. So I get to say thank you to this guy all the time.
Well, and now that him and I are best friends, I'll be able to do the same for the next 12 years. But this is the thing. Iron sharpens iron. So that's what I've always loved about what you've done, Tony, and what you are, still doing, Dean. You both are, is that you are really adding value to all of our lives. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. And I had experiences living because my business didn't hit it big till I was like 46.
Wow.
And it hit big overnight. It was an overnight success.
Only
For
took
46
years to get there.
Only
right?
took like 25 years. But I do believe it was, God's timing, perfect timing. But at the same time, it was my experience. So can you talk to me about what I think this is one of the biggest and best virtual events I've been in all of them. I'm serious. I probably like 20 of them. And I love the fact that it's free. But what is the game has changed mean, y'all?
It's really about, think about it, most people's path to have an extraordinary quality of life for decades ago was you worked hard, you got good grades in school, you got into the best university, you went for 4, 6, or 8 years, depending on the degree you're after, you went to work for a big corporation, and you lived your life, and at the end you have this great pension, and that was what life was about. Well, Today it's absurd. Today, first of all, the cost of education has exploded way beyond anything inflation could ever dream of. It's no longer something that's really worthwhile for a lot of people. 76% of the people who go to college and spend $30,000 or $350,000 a year, guess what? They don't do a job. Their job has nothing. Where they go to work has nothing to do with what they studied in school, and they spend all that money. Of the 27, 26%, 28% that actually are in the field, more than 50% say they hate their job. And people are tired of going to a university education where I'm spending a fortune for someone to pontificate who's never done it. And so for us, the game has changed is the world has changed. Now you can learn from the very best people in the world directly. And that's because of the digital revolution that we're in. But you said something really important, though. The secret, we show people in this, 3 days or a couple hours, 2-3 hours a day, we're going to show people how to go from just an idea or not even an idea what they want to do to understanding how they can get it in the knowledge business. Because the knowledge business is a business growing at this tempo. It's $1 million a day. Excuse me, $1 billion a day.
$1 billion.
It's supposed to be $1 trillion within 3 years. When he and I started working on this about 8 years ago, they were talking about $1 billion a day, and it looked like just ridiculous, but it's a fact today. So an industry that's growing, but here's the secret. I went to work for a guy named Jim Rohn when I was 17 years old. He was a personal development speaker, philosopher, kind of business philosopher. And I grew up dirt poor. I had 4 different fathers. We had no money for food. One of the reasons I provided 1 billion meals over the last 8 years to Feeding America is somebody fed me when I was 11. So I said 2 families, 4, and gradually over the decades it grew to the expansiveness it is now. Now I'm working 100 billion meals. But the point is, the man who changed my life, I went to work for this guy, and he taught me the most important lesson of all. He taught me certainly for things that change for you, you got to change, right? For things to get better, you got to get better. Basic fundamental philosophy. But I asked him, I was so frustrated. I said, how come all my fathers, you were broke? They'd work and then they'd lose their jobs and we had no money for food. I mean, literally, we had to be fed by other people. And I said, so they're good men. Explain it to me. Explain to me how that happens. And I got a teacher over here that only makes, in those days, $35,000 a year. And I see this guy over here who's a hedge fund guy making $2 billion. That's so unfair. And he said, Tony, before you decide it's unfair, I want you to consider something. And this was the most important lesson I got in business in my life. He said, think about this. We're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. So what does that mean? He said, think about it. Somebody works at McDonald's. I'm not picking on McDonald's. He said that anybody can learn that job in a few hours. Today, less than that, because it's pictures. I don't even have to know the language. He said, so how valuable is that job? You can complain about the low pay, but it's not designed to be a long-term job. It's an entry job. And the way you get to earn more is you become more valuable. You learn more. You have skills. You have abilities. When you're working at McDonald's, you don't have much skill, so you get very little. He said, your teacher. He said, how many teachers did you have over your life? I said, well, lots. He goes, how many of them were extraordinary? How many were magnificent? I said, I had a few. He said, a few. He said, and they're talking to 30 people, and they're not willing to take a risk. They want a guaranteed salary whether they perform or not. He said, that guy you're complaining about, the hedge fund guy, he generated a return of over 40% for the last 3 years compounded. That means people are doubling their money every 2.5 years. Those are people's pensions. That's their backgrounds. That's their kids' college educations. He said, so he made $2 billion because he made $50 billion for everybody else. He's worth it. So he said, here's what you need to understand. If you want to be successful in financial terms, you have to become more valuable. You have to learn to do more for others than anybody else in your industry. In other words, add more value, not the value you want to add, the value the marketplace really needs and wants. And if you study that and you work harder on yourself than you do your job, invest in you, you will become dominant over the years in whatever it is you do. And so today, I'm fortunate enough to have 114 companies. We do $7 billion in business across all these different industries. I had no business background, but the one universal thing I learned how to do was when I took over a company or bought a company or partnered in a company, the first thing we figure out is, what can we do better than anyone else in the industry to over-deliver for clients? We don't get satisfied customers. Satisfied customers go away, right? We get raving fans. Satisfied customers go away, raving fans stay. So Dean and I, this is our total passion because we got an industry that has so much upside. But today, we sound like old guys because we've been doing this between us. How many years, Dean? How many years have we done between
74.
us?
74.
Oh my gosh.
That's all Dean, by the way. He's
That's
50
child's
those years.
play. That's you're just getting started.
Right? But anyway, the point is we've been doing it that many years. So when we started out, we were driving uphill both ways, walking uphill through the snow,
Right,
But it's true,
literally.
It cost a fortune to start. You had to rent a giant ballroom to get the knowledge business. You had to go print brochures, cost tens of thousands of dollars. Mailing costs tens of thousands of dollars. Today, we not only can show somebody how to get in business and be digital overnight, but with the use of AI, you can take anybody who doesn't even know what the business they want to be in and make it happen. And that really is what we're most excited about. And we're going to take people through that on June 13th through the 15th for The Game Has Changed and show you in real time, not 1 2 hours, one day, or you show up and it's 3 days in a row of a process to take you from not even knowing what you want to do to saying, hey, this could be my livelihood, or this could be my side bit, or this could be just something that's so fulfilling for me, because it's not just widgets. People are learning how to make a difference in people's lives. And you know what's crazy? It could be as little as you figured out how to get the eczema off your child as a baby in torture, and you share that. It could be people who've had conscious divorces and they still love each other, and they teach a course on it. We show people how to create that in minutes. What took Dean and I literally years, in some cases a decade, you can now do in days, in some cases in hours. It's mind-boggling. It's because of AI.
Okay, I got to ask you something, because a lot of people, especially women, struggle with having the trouble. They have trouble seeing their own value and the value that they can add. Like, what do you do with somebody? Because, okay, technology, please, thank God I have people. But I just want to say, like, what do you say to these, and especially women who are sitting at home going, I want to do something different. I know I have the experience. I know I have value to add. What do you say to that person that has that self-doubt?
I would say this. First off, I'd start with, they are enough. They know enough. And they can do it. In most cases, they didn't have a good guide.
Okay.
They didn't have the person to show them the path. But secondly, I've been saying this a long time, Kim, but you got to hear this. I wish if we were live right now, I'd know the answer, because I've been blessed to be able to ask hundreds of thousands of people this question. But for every woman home, anybody listening, but if you're home right now and somebody gave me a magic wand and gave me the opportunity to give you one or the other wish. And I said, I can put $1 million in your bank account right now. Deposit the $1 million, or I can send you back so you can spend a whole week with your 20-year-old self. And you can prepare and share about what you should do in business, what you should do in life. Hey, don't jump in that first relationship. Hey, you don't have to take that job just because you thought your parents wanted you to. If you could prepare and go back and spend a week or take the $1 million cash, what would you do? Out of hundreds of thousands of people, I've only seen $1 million across the screen or a hand raise a couple of times out of hundreds of thousands of people. Think about what you would do. But here's the fact.
I'd go back.
Life experience, of course. And because if you think about it, your life experience is that valuable to yourself, but it's just as valuable to other people who are starting off where you once were. If you're a chapter ahead through a divorce, if you're a chapter ahead in sales, if you're a chapter ahead in starting your business, a chapter ahead of doing crafts and arts or painting or doing things at home or DIY or anything you can think of, there is somebody on day one going, I could go back to college. That's too general. That's not working anymore. I could learn on my own.
And expensive.
Right, I could learn on my own. I don't have enough time for trial and error. Or I can find someone who's already done what I want to achieve, and I can cut a check for speed. I can buy their course. I can get in their monthly program. I can be in their community. So this isn't for other people anymore. And, I'm so glad my team gave me a great background on you, Kim, and all the things you do. But I see at this phase of your life, you write books, information. You're a life coach, information, right? You speak on stages, you're providing information. And I would bet to say in all the things you do, they're probably the things that light you up the most. Is that true?
It is. And it's edification too. It's not, do you know what I'm saying? Like information is great, but what you guys do, Dean, is you edify, you build up. Like knowledge is great, and inspiration is pretty good. But this edification that you give in your courses, and I'm not even trying to do a hard sell. I'm serious because it's free. So I'm just saying like it's the edification, Dean and Tony, that you guys bring to the world.
It's
a build-up. It's a build-up. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a how-to. It's practical. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a process that's making practical, but with the right strategy, you can save yourself a decade without exaggeration. I mean, the things Dean and I talked the other day saying, like, can you imagine if we had these tools when we were starting out? I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's also so much fun because, we can take people like, we have a guy who was a frustrated car salesman. His name's Andy. About 5 years ago, he came into our community and, not doing so great in that area. And he decided he wanted to do better, got him to work better on himself, make those personal development changes. And then we showed him how to take what he learned when he started to succeed and share it with other people. He's got $100 million business now. And he started with us 5 years ago from scratch.
All right.
And then we got an acupuncturist, a woman named Chris, who, she takes her skills. She's really good at acupuncture. Before, all she could do is acupuncture. If she wasn't working physically, she's only being paid by the hour. Well, we got her to be able to make money while she sleeps because she built a course, teaches other acupuncture people insights that she has. She's making over $100,000 in her business in her very first year. And then we have people that just want to share something. It's something that really matters to them. And they've gone through pain, and their pain or their problem becomes the opportunity because once you solve it within yourself, that's what I've done my whole life. Anything that was a big challenge, I figured if I can solve this for me, I can also show other people I'll solve it as well and save them decades, save them hours, save them so much pain. So people are doing that across every kind of subject you can imagine. We have over 100,000 people in our community right now who are coaching each other in 100 countries plus now, Dean? Is it 100 countries plus?
Yeah, over 100 countries.
Yeah,
that's in the mastermind, right? The mastermind program?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because is that the deeper level? Like to me, that is your new college experience. Like I deal with a lot of and mentor a lot of young people and did that with a lot of young girls. And I have 2 teenage sons. Like how important, like could a mother and son, like a 50-year-old and her 17-year-old son come to this? That would be like magical. It'd be great.
I'll tell you what a person needs. I love the idea of like a mother and a son because like in my own life, one of my boys is one of my businesses to me. And it's the most fun thing in the world, especially as they get older. So it's really gorgeous. But we get people of every walk of life that come. We have people that are in a corporate job, but they know it's just not fulfilling, but they're afraid to make the jump. It seems too big. I don't know where I'd start. We have people that are currently doing something, but it's not that it's not good. It's actually okay, but it's just not fulfilling for them. And then we have people who have that entrepreneurial itch that really want to get going. What we look for is one thing: hunger. If you look at the most successful
how
people
bad
on
do
earth,
you want it? Yeah,
right?
How bad do you want it?
I don't care if I believe intelligence is one of the greatest gifts. I love wickedly smart people, but I know lots of very smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag in business or practically, right? So it's like we're looking for somebody like if you look at Richard Branson rather. He started Virgin when he was 13 years old. 16 he's in a cemetery building this thing. He's just as hungry today to be more, to do more, to share more, to create more as when he started. Oprah's still hungry. That's why she's still doing the business she's done. Anybody you see that's successful has that hunger. So if that hunger usually shows up because you have a birthday with a 0 on it after 35 or 40, or a birthday with a 5 even. It happens because you go through a divorce. It happens because you finally get sick and tired of just settling. It happens because the kids have grown up and now you're an empty nester. There's so many things that can trigger hunger in somebody. And some people are just naturally hungry. The people that they're just always going for it.
Driven.
That's our audience. And we can take that audience and show them how to produce results beyond their imagination where they have the quality of life they want. But the career is part of that. It's a mission for them. It's pretty cool.
How important is mindset going into this? Because to me, it's a game changer for me, the way I look at things, my perception of things. And when that shifted for me, it really, I'm going to do air quotes here. It was easier for me to accomplish my goals and dreams. How important, do you address that at all? And
and I think I'll speak from that perspective. I think that's what makes this partnership and our friendship work so well. Tony knows how to market and run companies as good as any human being on the planet. Is why he's the world's leading strategist.
Yes.
But when it comes to shifting your state and mindset, there's no one, and I could say this about my brother, there's no one better in the world. I know mindset, but I'm nowhere near what this man is. And when it comes to marketing, we're both good at it, but that's something I've obsessed on for 30 years. Every single day is, how do you fall in love with your product so much that you have to find every way possible to get people to say yes, or you're doing them a disservice? So the combo of the two has what I believe is, when we launched this 6 years ago, Kim, it's become a movement, because when you get Tony Robbins under your skin and in your head, you become unstoppable. And then the two of us work together to give you a path, the map, the assistance, and the tools to make it real. That combo is why this has become such a movement. Why this year we'll have over 1 million people registered for this event. Yeah. And just in the last 5 years alone, we've seen over 1 million people just with this business. Not the other businesses I work with Tony on, that's probably over 11 million. But nothing we've ever done has compared to what we're doing this one. And I know I might sound like a little hyperbole here, but the fact of the matter is, in 40 plus years of Tony doing this, almost 30 for you, 27 and a half for me, this industry has changed at a rapid rate, maybe a 45-degree angle. It has changed more in the last 12 months than it has in the last 20 years prior. And because you have assistance, because you have help, because you can work with a program that thinks like Tony and I, so you're not stuck on the blank page, so you don't get overwhelmed, 24 hours, 7 days a week, someone to help you put this together. You can't use the excuse of time. Can't use the excuse I'm too old or I don't like technology. This really busts those excuses. That's why we called it The Game Has Changed. That's why we want people to come.
And by the way, when people hear things like AI today, some people kind of freak out.
Oh, I love it.
All it is, if you got the right AI. Now, the right AI, if you go to ChatGPT, 1/3 of the answers are made up. 1/3. So you get wrong information. So we built an AI that's a closed system. And Dean is a little too humble. He certainly has the mindset piece as strong as I do, but he definitely is a Picasso of marketing. We both have skills in that area, but he is really phenomenal in that area. So all that we have taught is there. And so all you have to do is ask questions. That's all it is. And you get the answers. But what's really cool is we've even figured out the questions for you. So we have a type of question for you to trigger the answer to say, okay, how do I find what might be my real passion here? Or what kind of business is this? Or how would I outline a course if this is what I want to accomplish? And these are some of the tools I have. It is mind-boggling because it happens in milliseconds. It's right there in front of you. The hardest part, if you ever try to write a course or do something, is sitting down in front of that blank page and trying to get something to come through you. That's over with AI.
Yeah, that's gone.
And so we have not only that, but then how do I market it? It puts the marketing plan together for you. I mean, it is ridiculous. So it still takes work. There's no freebies in life. You still have to do your part. But the pace at which you can go from not knowing anything to being really great in this business and being able to do something you love and earn in it is shortened like massively. Like Dean said, more in the last year than the last probably 25 or 30 years. That's how fast it's changed. And so we want to take people through it. When they're on our free course, we're going to give them, if they want, they can pay $1 and they can use all our software and everything else, literally $1. And they can, while they're in the course, they can do all these things live with us at no charge. So we want to give people an experience that blows their mind. And we've done it each year. That's why we'll have over 1 million people this year. And do you know the website address there, Dean? I'm not sure what it is for us.
Yeah, they can go to deanandtonylive.com/Kim. deanandtonylive.com/Kim. And I'd say, one of the things the team's been saying here, and I think it's a pretty cool, is in shifting times like this. And we know the world has changed. Some people are afraid of AI, but you realize once you get simplicity on the other side of complexity, you realize it's like having a great conversation. Once you understand that inflation can destroy you or can be your competitive edge, right? When it comes to inflation, Kim, you don't have to pay anything when you do a coaching session. You don't have to pay for inventory, no startup fees. It's your life experience. So this is an inventory. This is a inflation buster because you don't have to pay for startup fees. You don't have to pay the cost of inventory, and your knowledge is probably the most valuable asset you have. But the team has been saying in times like these, you're either one step ahead or you're definitely 2 steps behind. Yeah. And they're having fun with, like, if you think of a wave, right? If you're too far out in front, you don't catch the wave. If you're a foot behind the wave, you missed it. But if you could get in that sweet spot right at the crest of the wave, it pushes you all the way to shore. And when we say the game has changed, it truly has. And Tony and I feel blessed that we get to help change it.
Well, and so many people are disinterested in the corporate climb and even like, brick and mortar, small business. I mean, people are disheartened, like you said, with inflation. I mean, I know for me, I took the hardship of COVID and the lockdowns and I used it to my advantage. And that's when our business grew 3 times. Our annual revenue and our sales was 3 times what it is. And now it's just exploded because, like you said, it's in these moments when it's all getting ready to bust forth. But can I ask you with a question? Is this a side hustle? Because, you see all over the internet, like you can make $7 million in 2 minutes by doing,
First of all, this is not a get rich quick piece, but it's also not a side hustle. What for most people is just working their guts out and they're not getting any further ahead. They're just making an income. They aren't building. See,
they start a second job.
You gotta learn how to make money you got to make money while you sleep. And I've done 3 #1 New York Times bestseller books on finance. And the first one I wrote was after 2008. It's called Money Master the Game. And I did it because I wanted to see, is the game still winnable? Because, the entire world economy was almost turned upside down by just a small number of people who we didn't put in jail. We gave them more money so they could continue to do the same things. Just blew my mind. So I said, I have the ability to reach the biggest in the world, the Ray Dalios, the Carl Icahns, the Warren Buffetts. So I interviewed 50 of the smartest people in the world in there. And when I sat down with Warren Buffett, I said, what has been the single best investment of your life? Well, I did all my homework. I figured he was going to say Coca-Cola or Geico. I know his companies. And he goes, well, the best investment I ever made is what you do. And I said, well, I do a lot of things. Which thing you talking about? He goes, the way you educate people and change them within themselves. He said, I went to Dale Carnegie when I was first starting my career. It was the single best investment in my entire life. And I'll tell you why. Everything I do would be worthless if I hadn't learned how to communicate effectively. He goes, all those ideas would have died on my lips. He said, so that course is it. And he said, and then recently I just saw a new interview with him that was done. And it was when his recent speech and they were asking about inflation. And they were saying, like, are you worried about it? He said, no, all you have to do is be 3 to 10% more effective and you're fine with inflation. Inflation is going to be 3 to 8%. Who knows where it's going to be? No one knows for sure. You need, again, to be more valuable. But he said, let me tell you how you do that. He said, number 1, invest in you. Because the skills you develop are not taxable. The skills you develop will compound and you'll take them throughout your life and they're going to get you from where you are to where you want to be faster. Do that before you invest in a company, he said. 2, have your own business. But he said, get a business with low CapEx. That sounds very complex. It just means low capital expenses. If I own a company that rents out to construction people, these giant earth movers, those machines cost $2 million and they last about 4 years. And then you got to buy another one. Well, with inflation, they're going to cost more. You're going to run out quicker. The costs are higher. And so those businesses are hurting. But the knowledge business, like you're in, it doesn't have those overhead costs. So you're much more flexible and you're going to win. So the real secret is to understand that this is the time to take advantage. Most people in a time like that get fearful and they freeze. If you freeze, the wave will pass you. You'll be behind the wave, as you were just describing, Dean, and you won't be able to catch up. If you ever try to do it with a big wave, you know what I'm talking about. Well, this is a wave that's a once in a lifetime wave. If some of us are old enough to remember when the internet first came into being, meaning the web, and it started to change our lives, well, this is that on steroids. But if you don't participate because all you do is go to ChatGPT every now and ask a silly question, if you don't use it to your advantage, then you're missing out on something. And you can't because everyone else is going to move forward. We know how to do it and change the psychology with you, but also show you step at a time how to do each step.
How to.
But to answer your question directly, no, I don't believe in side hustles. A side hustle is you're working more. And you're going to be more exhausted. I mean, this whole thing of like hustle, that whole hustle culture, I'm respectful of people with great work ethic. I have great work ethic, but that's not the answer. The answer is you've got to stop being a consumer and become an owner. When you become an owner, it's a different game. You can get to a point, like Jim Rohn said to me, can you make twice as much money in the same time? And I said, well, there are people who do that. So yeah, he goes, how about 5 times? How about 10? How about 100 times more money in the same time? I said, yeah, I guess there are people who do. He goes, how? I said, well, what you taught me, they got more value. Yes, they got more valuable, but they got a business or they've learned how to make money when they sleep. Even if you didn't want to do your own business, then you want to invest in businesses. And you don't have to have a lot of money. I mean, with compounding, you could take your kid, who starts at 19 years old and say, look, you got no overhead. You got a job. I want you to put $300 a year aside or $300 a month aside for the next 8 years. And don't forget about that from 19 years old to 28. If that child does that and never invested again, they're going to have several $1 million, $1.8 million to give you an idea. If their friend starts at 27 with the same amount and invests not for 8 years, but 38 years, and they spend 140 grand, they're going to have 1.5. So it's about getting in the game. The sooner you get in the game, the more you're going to win. But you got to know how the game has changed.
You got to get in the game. It all started as a love story. You probably think this story is about you. This is a new podcast that is an exploration of love, betrayal, and the far-reaching consequences of one man's deceit. I'm telling you right now, I am hooked. Brittany Ard is on the quest for truth. Ooh, this is getting good. She wants to understand how Cannon, the man that she once believed to be her soulmate, could have deceived her so deeply. If you are into true crime like me and love great storytelling, then you have to listen to this podcast. But Brittany Yard is not stopping there. Her goal is to use her story as a way to launch a community for women to find strength and the smarts they need to embark on adulthood, parenthood, partnerships, and confront all the challenges and surprises that life offers. So you've got to go and listen and follow. You probably think this story's about you wherever you can listen and download podcast. We've got the link in our show notes, so make sure you start with episode 1. You're going to absolutely love it. It's got crime, it's got love, it's got great storytelling, and it's got me hooked. Okay, so let me ask you, my daddy used to always say, hey, Kim, if you make it about others, it'll always be about you. How important is this service mentality that you both have? Now, look, you both are highly successful financially. You're very fulfilled personally and professionally, but you give back. And I say that because I want everybody to really understand, the why you're doing what you're doing. Because, clearly you don't need the money, Tony and Dean. You don't need... okay, I'm serious. Like, really? But the why behind what you're doing, it is of service, and you're connecting, because I know how important it is. Connection is everything. Like, I've had companies want to hire me, teach me how you connect, Kim, on QVC. And I'm like, oh, Lord, I never even thought about that, because it does... I've had the experience, Dean. We talked about it. I didn't even know I was cultivating that. So how important is this servant mentality that you guys have, even when someone is wanting to start their own business?
I'll jump in here. Two things. You said the why and the service mentality. I'll start with the why.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When Tony and I were at a golf course, we golf twice a year with each other, and that's about 8 holes if we get that far. And then we want to go eat lunch and talk.
Right, you want to go eat. Yeah.
But I'll tell you 3 quick things why. One,
okay,
we had been friends for about 4 years. We weren't doing business. We were just developing a friendship. And we said if we were going to do a business, what would we do? How could we not do anything that wasn't related to the industry that we both believe saved our lives? Right? Jim Rohn helped transform Tony. Tony did that for me. And we're like, hey, we're not going to be here forever. So how do we show people, pull back the curtain, show them what we did? And when we're gone, there's a whole army of people impacting others. We get to help self-education become the new norm because we know the traditional education system currently is broken. We hope it's fixed someday. Secondly, we also both know what it's like. Kind of that look in the mirror of like, hey, is this all there is? Like, we know what it's like to want more, want to, I watch my mom struggle working 3 jobs. Is this all there is? The biggest worries in our family were about money. Is that all there is? So we also, Tony and I both know the feeling of what if we miss it and this is all there is? Like, I'm going to be like my dad. My biggest worry as a kid is I'm going to end up like my dad. I love my dad. He's still alive, but I didn't want to be him.
Right.
He's always broke, on 5 marriages, always broke, didn't talk to his brothers and sisters, always worried about money. Like, I want to be that guy. So we both know what it feels like if we didn't make it, but we also know what it was like to get into an industry and I can only speak for myself, and I know it to be true with Tony, that not only allowed us to have no glass ceiling, allowed us to become better humans. I'm telling you right now, I got in this business because of Tony. I bought his course. I'm like, I invested in this guy, changed my life. I want to do that.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest with you, when I first got in this business, I just wanted to make money, not to be like my father. But when you get in this industry, there's nothing you can do about it. You start changing.
You can't help yourself. Yeah.
You are in the business of impacting others, whether you're teaching them how to play piano, fix their marriage, or sell better.
Yeah.
It's your business. And there is no way you can't fall in love with impacting others. And I got this from Tony, is like, I literally don't have work-life balance. I have work-life integration. I don't know when life ends and work begins and life ends. I love them both. And how could you not want to just shake people and say, come. I said this the other day. If you go to a great restaurant, Kim, do you call somebody or know somebody like, oh my God, you got to go? I could tell you're like, you want them to go experience it, right?
Yeah, you can look at me and tell you I love to eat. Absolutely. And I know good food when I taste it.
I meant you're very passionate. But
very passionate.
If you read a book, go to a movie, eat a meal, you can't wait to share it.
Correct.
The reason Tony and I still do this is because this industry has fueled our lives and filled us with so many great gifts. He's fed over 1 billion people, right?
I know.
We're working hard to do all these great things too. So if you just start for the money, there's no way you can't end up being service oriented. There's nothing you could do because you grow together.
You grow together and people need what you have to offer.
There's nothing like, I know you've experienced this too, Kim. There's nothing like the feeling of knowing you've contributed beyond yourself. It doesn't take that much to meet your own needs. We have needs to feel certain, to feel variety, to feel like we're significant, to feel like we're loved, like we're growing, like we're contributing. There's only a few needs we have, and we can meet those needs, including our economic needs, fairly easily. But if you're going to have a life that's fulfilling, then you have to find something you care about more than yourself. And that's where the energy comes from. Because, Dean and I were talking about this the other day, because we play golf, like you said, twice a year, 8 holes. We didn't have the patience for it, but we enjoy it while being together and going out there. But we see these guys who go out and play every day, and I don't have any disrespect for them, but when you listen to them in the locker room, the conversation they have, they'll come up to Dean and I will say, like, you guys are still in the game, aren't you? Wow, I remember when I was in the game. And they're no older than I am, but they've checked out, and it's like, so I can't imagine checking out. And there's nothing more fulfilling. And Kim, I know you've experienced this, is when you've served people and they look you in the eye and say, oh my gosh, what you shared with me made such a difference in my life. I mean, other than my kids and my family, the greatest gift in my life is that, because I've been doing this, this is my 47th year doing this. It's almost 50 years all around the planet, in every country in the world, 193 countries I've been to doing business. It's like anywhere I go every day, I get that feedback. So how could I not want to keep giving? And how could I not want to keep contributing? And I also know that once people start to give, they get hooked. But I also want to say, I don't think I did all this because I was such a great person. It's like, why to feed 1 billion people? Because I wasn't fed. So I know what suffering feels like. So I don't want to suffer. Somebody fed my family. It's like, okay, let me feed 2 families. Then it was 4, and then it was 8. So you can start with the smallest goal. I have a friend, Joe Gebbia, who started Airbnb. And this is a perfect example of what Dean and I talk about. He can't pay his rent one day. He has a roommate splitting the rent on this little apartment. And the owner of the apartment building raised his rent 25% and literally had no money to do it. And he was a designer. And so there was a design conference coming to San Francisco, and he saw the website said all the hotels were sold out. And he had this moment of inspiration. He looked around because he thought he had nothing. Like a lot of ladies listening right now, and gentlemen, I know you have a lot of ladies here, will say, well, I don't have anything to give. You're so wrong. We'll help you figure it out. But here's what he did. He looked around and out of desperation said, we got to find a way to make money. He said, we got a big living room. We have a couple of those blow-up air beds. Why don't we blow 3 of them? Let's blow 3 of them. Let's go buy 2 more. Let's find 5 of these, and let's put an ad there and just say, we're going to have Airbnb, air and breakfast. And he said,
literally, air mattresses.
We'll pick you up at the airport. We'll show you around. We'll make you breakfast, and you have a place to stay. And they sold it out instantly, right?
I love it.
And so they made enough money to pay their rent. Well, guess what? I'm going to give you a perspective. Hilton's been around hotels for over 105 years. They have 1.2 million rooms they pay for. They're worth $50 billion. Airbnb has been around 15 years. They have 7.7 million rooms they don't have to pay for, right? And they're worth $93 billion. And this is from these guys, just figuring out and it didn't go off right away. It took them about 5 years to figure it out. But once they figured it out, it took off. Now, not everybody needs to do $1 billion business. You might want to just do something that's fun and meaningful and gives you that extra income to do the things you want to do for your family or to enjoy or to expand the quality of your life. Or you might start that way and then you get a monster by the tail when you find something people really love. That's so much fun to see.
Well, I got to tell you, I know there's people listening to this right now that have had this like desire, this burning, this calling, so to speak, in their hearts, and they're resonating with this, and they're scared to death, but you don't need to be scared. You need to just jump in and do it. And a big part of your message with the game has changed is about how the American dream is going to require some kind of generational reboot. Like, what is the new American dream, y'all? What is it?
Yeah.
I think it is this having a life where you don't know where work ends and life begins, and there's no limits to who you can become. I don't mean to, that's the first time I've ever said it that way.
Say that again twice.
I probably can't because it just came out. But when I think of the American dream, Kim, and I think it's gotten,
that's good.
I think it's got a bad rap over the last few years. And I think it's been pushed so far to one side that I think it's going to rebound and people are going to realize we live in the greatest country on the planet. No matter where you live in the world, you can have the American dream. That's really just living in who you're meant to be, not settling to be. That's what I think the American dream is. But when I think of the American dream, you got to think so. I get to do all these cool things with my brother, Tony Robbins. I get to meet amazing people. I get to make sure my family's okay, retire my parents, all these things I never would have dreamed of, right? In a place where literally my grandfather, not 20 generations ago, my grandfather left Sterno, Italy on a donkey, sold it in the harbor, didn't have enough money for his trip to America, made a deal with the captain to shovel coal all the way from Italy to America, got dropped off in Ellis Island in New York. We have the records, with not $1 in his pocket, could not speak the language, and his grandson gets to do something with you two today like this. Like that to me is the American dream, and it's still alive. And I just think some people are looking through the wrong lens, or they don't realize that they've been programmed to have a career mindset. Listen, how many amazing ladies are listening right now? Because I was at a women's conference with 10,000 women and I asked this, and I didn't realize that a third of them would end up in tears. I said, how many of you have a career mindset? And they're like, I don't think so. And I said, who in here started your business, your career? You couldn't wait. You got the job. You got accepted. You fell in love with the company. You had ideas. You could innovate. You could create. You wanted to be in the boardroom and share your ideas. And so many times someone didn't listen to you. Your team leader or your boss was intimidated by you, shut down your idea. And then finally you just said, all right, I'll just shut down my innovation side of my life. I'll be quiet. Right. I'll do what I have to do and I'll get my pension. I don't even know how I said it that day, but a third of the audience started crying and raising their hands. And I said, you don't even realize you forgot that woman that used to take your kids' crayons and doodle the logo of what your new business was going to be. I said, it's time to wake her up again because the American dream is back.
It's back, and there's nothing that women can't do. I mean, we are the helpmates.
Okay,
we
so
are
let
the
me just tell you right
workhorses.
now,
I mean, you don't get me on women because I will get fired
Kim,
up because it's the truth. Because I live with 3 men, y'all.
It's Tony Robbins and I.
Never sit on a clean toilet seat. Never.
It's Tony Robbins and I company. We co-founded it. But as of last year, we were 64% women. And the majority of our successful students are women. They are realizing there is no glass ceiling. There are no limits. They have to rely on no one but themselves, and their life experience is their asset. And that's why we want to show people how to unlock it.
You know what's so interesting
Dean,
right now?
I agree.
What's really interesting right now is that if you look at our business schools, there are more women in business school than men today. There are more women in medical school than men today. And in business, the largest number of new businesses are being started by women. So women have the hunger. A lot of men have lost that hunger, or they don't have a vision anymore, or they don't feel valued by society, unfortunately. But women are in that hungry state. And while women can be competitive with each other, they also have a tendency to cooperate at a different level and really coach and support one another. So we find in our community, the women are very often the leaders of those communities. There's some great men in there too. No, don't get me wrong. But the women have that hunger. They're the first ones to say, I'm in. I'm scared to death, but I'm in. And then pretty soon they realize they're not really scared to death. So when people say, I'm so scared, I said, well, are you also excited? And they think for a moment, I go, I am excited. So I said, well, you got a mixture of the two. So let's not talk about being scared. Let's just focus on what to do. Let's just take the next step. You take a baby step and another baby step. But before you know it, all of a sudden your confidence grows because you're not going it based on what you think. I always tell people a belief is a poor substitute for an experience.
That is the
truth. You
truth.
can believe what China's like, but if you go to China and meet Chinese people, you have a different experience. Well, you have a belief about your ability to do something in business, but in the 3 days we're going to be with you, 1, 2, 3. It's going to be like step 1, step 2, step 3 over 3 days, 2.5, 3 hours a day. You're going to go from, I don't know if this is even possible, to, oh my God, I could be in business right now. Some people during that time will actually start a business during the 3 days.
Yes, they will.
They have a business already and they want to take it to the next level. Both will be happening there.
Well, and I want to tell everybody listening right now, even you women out there that have had this dream or had this vision or just don't even know what it is, but there's something more. This is the kind of event you need to be a part of. Even if you are in business and you are doing very well, you need this kind of encouragement, this edification. You've got to go and sign up for the event. I'm already signed up. I've signed my whole team up. It's 20 women in our organization.
And it's free. There's no charge whatsoever.
Totally
it's not partially free. It's totally free. And by the way, you might want to bring somebody else, a friend with you. You guys can, because you can do this.
Yeah, we're doing it as a group. We're doing it as a company.
You can
we're doing
do
it as a company.
It's really fun to do that way.
DeanandTonyLive.com/Kim. I know, I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, but I just want you to hear that because FOMO is real. Last year, always after the event, people will hit us up because we'll put 1 million people that'll register for this. So literally a week after, we'll get 20,000 emails and say, hey, can we watch as a replay? There's no replay, right? When we're doing it live. So I'm giving you the URL because I don't want you to have FOMO a week after the event. June 13th through the 15th, about 3 hours a day. And, one more thing I like to say is sometimes when things are free, Kim, we don't value it as much. I would say, pretend you're paying $1,000 for this. Write it down, convince yourself, because if you pay $1,000, you'll show up, you go buy a fresh new journal, you'll get a pen that works, you'll shut off the distractions, you'll tell your husband or someone in your life, go watch the kids. This is mom
Shut
time.
Up.
This is
mom
my time.
Right.
I would take it that serious because the rest of your life, living a fulfilled life, is that serious. Right? We don't get a do-over at the end.
Mm-mm. We don't. I just love you guys. Okay, before you go, I've got to do something I do with everybody. It's called rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a question. What comes up, comes out. No censorship, just blah. Okay? This is the fun part. Here we go.
Rapid fire questions.
What is your go-to coffee order every day?
Go through what? Coffee order?
Coffee
I don't
order.
drink coffee.
Tony, you don't drink coffee without that energy.
If I drank coffee, it would be scary.
I didn't drink coffee for 53 years, but about twice a week I have an oat milk latte because my wife makes it and she hovers over and she puts cinnamon and vanilla in it and she'll tell me how great it smells. I'm like, I went 53 years without a cup of coffee.
Listen,
but yeah, I'll have an oat milk latte a couple days a week.
You better drink it, Dean, every drop. Okay, here we go. Which books have you read more than once?
Oh my gosh.
I've read Tony's 3. One.
I was going to say, Man's Search for Meaning is one of my absolute original favorites. I would also say, As a Man Thinketh. I mean, I've read those books dozens of times to give you perspective. I could go on and on. Most books I'll read more than once. The great ones.
Same here. I love Dale Carnegie's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Only because it was, besides Tony's books, that one I've probably read 3 times. And then when I push my kids to read it, I reread it with them. So I would say that one.
What question do you get asked the most?
That's a great question. How do I deal with this? I can remember, I'll tell you a funny story. I can remember, when I started being recognized and, I did events and then I had these infomercials in the early days. In the early days, there were only 50 channels. So I was 24 hours a day, 30 minutes, every 30 minutes somewhere in North America. And then so people stop me and I want to help them, And so I learned shortcuts. Remember one time I was in this hotel, I was doing a seminar, I'm standing there in the restroom doing the, necessary. And this man starts looking at me, and all of a sudden he goes, oh my God, you're Tony Robbins. I'm suicidal. I need your help. And he turns in the process.
Oh, bless his heart.
I swear to God, true story, all over my pants. And I said, I think I can help you with that suicide. I can help kill you, right? But how do I change this? How do I transform this? How do I deal with this? That's probably the most common question.
Well, and Tony, you're not going to get missed. It's like you're 7 feet, 6 inches tall. I mean, you're huge. So now ain't nobody going, you can't sneak around. No. Dean, what about you?
One I get a lot is you having that much energy. Is it real? But the one that I get the most is, or I used to get the most, especially because I had infomercials after Tony. People say, why were you guys at infomercials? Because we were here before the internet was invented.
Correct.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. It wasn't because of choice. But the one I get a lot is Tony's 6'7", I'm 5'7" on a good day. So I get a lot is, oh my God, you changed my life. And secondly, I thought you were taller. Literally, like, and what I hate is when they do that when my kids are around, because now both of my kids, my son's just about to pass me and my daughter's taller than me. So literally when someone says that, if someone's recognizing me, Kim, my daughter will go, they're going to mention your height. They're going to mention, I'm like, no, they're not.
You're toast,
so anyway, it's a joke with my kid.
You're toast. You have teenage kids? Is it teenage age group?
I have teenagers and babies. Yeah. 2 of each. Oh,
God. I'm exhausted. Okay. Which historical figure would you most want to share the stage with?
Thomas Jefferson.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Tone, we've never talked about it. That's who I would have said.
Really?
I geeked out American history. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to tell me why.
That's
I know why, but just really quick.
Next time we're together, Tone.
Yeah.
Wait, answer at the same time. Why?
Why?
Because of the quality of his thought process that made this country possible. Everything from the Declaration of Independence, but also just his influence as a leader, his approach to things is I'm most aligned with.
Yeah, I agree with that. And about 5 years ago, I geeked out on American history because I didn't study it all in school. So I figured it was time. And I read every book of the founding fathers through a different lens. I read Franklin's and Adams and George Washington. I just, for a whole year, I just geeked out on those books. And when you look at the center, Thomas Jefferson was at the center of all of their stories. And secondly, in the background was Benjamin Franklin kind of whispering in their ear.
Quiet leaders. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Are our cell phones listening to us?
Yes.
1,000%. Let's just talk about baby carriages for the next 10 minutes, and you'll have an ad tomorrow on baby carriages. You don't need
I think I've just popped up. I think one just popped up. Yeah, I'm just saying like that. I would totally agree. Okay, what is your kryptonite?
Time. I've got there's just so that's the only thing that's scarce in my life. So that being able to pick that piece, that's the toughest piece because there's so much. I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids. I have a 50-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old daughter, to give you an idea, to give you the extremes. And so my life is full, to say the least. I got 114 companies. I've got, my dear friendships. So keeping all that together and being an athlete and doing what I do, that's probably the biggest challenge.
Well, you're doing it. Dean?
Yeah, I think it revolves around the same thing. I would say the kryptonite is when I feel like I'm not being my best in each area, being the dad I want to be, especially teenagers and babies, and a wife I love, and a business I love, and dear friendships. So I think when I feel like I'm letting any of those areas down, it's probably something I still need to work on. It's stressful to me because I want them all to be balanced and all to be growing.
I love it. All right, favorite junk food. And let me just preface and say it has to be really, don't give me kale chips that have sea salt on them. I want real junk food.
Pizza.
Oh, God, what kind, Tony?
Any kind. I love pizza.
Oh, God.
Pizza is so good.
It's so good, Dean.
But you have to pick.
He picked a salty. You have to pick a sweet.
I pick a sweet. I don't do a lot of sweets, but chocolate.
Dean,
definitely.
stop.
I'm sweets.
No.
Chocolate cream pie. My mother used to make it for me my entire childhood, like old school, like broke when they used to put the Jell-O packet into the pre-made crust, and then it would go in the refrigerator and get a skin on the top that everybody thought was gross, but I thought it was amazing.
Oh, the skin.
Are you sure you're not Southern? Are you sure you're not Southern? That sounds real Southern.
What I could not say no to: old school chocolate cream pie with Cool Whip on top. I would eat the whole pie. I'd eat the whole pie.
Before it was extra creamy, just Cool Whip, period. Just an old school Cool Whip. Okay, I agree 1,000%.
Yeah, no extra creamy. I don't even know when that came out.
It's it's delish. Just trust me on that
by the
one.
way, the skin is the best. Like, let me just
is it
you
the
get
skin?
it. You totally get it. Yeah.
People would say the skin's gross.
I'm clearly missing out. I have never had this. I'll have to try.
Tony, I can make you an old school chocolate cream pie and send it to you.
Now they're the best friends. I'm counting on it, Kim.
I'm waiting for my call. Okay, who is your celebrity crush? Tony?
Bro crush would probably be Richard Branson from the early days because of all that he accomplished, all he's done. He's been kind of a role model for me for sure.
Oh my God. And my friend Sarah is good friends with him. He's great.
Kim, if you asked me that 15 years ago, I would have said Tony Robbins. But now I take it for granted. Now I take it for granted. I'm not crushing anymore. We're too much proximity.
Me too, Dean. I'm going to second that. All right. Y'all are amazing. Oh my gosh, this has been such an honor and such excited. I'm excited about the live event. Everybody go. Dean, give it to us one more time. It is deanandtonylive.com/Kim, right?
Kim. Yep.
You get your free ticket.
If you put it in the show notes, they'll just click on it. But
that's what we're going to do.
It's only happening
June
once.
13th through the 15th. Starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern, but people are attending from all over the world.
And it's live, and you don't want to miss it. Let's all do it together. Let's level up because the game has changed, and it's ready for us to be a part of it. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us, Kim. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Kim.
And
Thanks, Zach.
check out mastermind.com too. Check out mastermind.com. Y'all come back and be with us.
Thanks a lot.
Y'all truly have been mentors to me, both of you. And I mean that sincerely. I know you get that all the time, but I just like to tell it like it is. I ain't got time for none of the bull mess. So I'm just telling you. Thank you. Let's start over because I got where you're going with it now. But anyway. Hello?
I'm scared.
Are you there?
No, I was going to say, I paused because you were going to say something. And then I paused.
Your face was like... If you like this episode, here's another one I think you're going to love. Zach, how long am I going to have to point at this? Is this enough?